Folks, watch out for this type of seller. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending June 11th, 2025. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. So there's a scenario that's been happening more and more out there dealing with this type of seller. We've experienced it several times now. The most recent was helping one of our buyer clients purchase a property. We viewed many homes. This one specific home my client really liked, wanted to buy it. It was a vacant home, and before we put the offer together, I was speaking with the listing agent, and I asked why was the home vacant, and he had explained to me that the sellers about a year ago took a job in the United States. They like it there, they're not coming back, and they want to sell this home and buy a home over there. Okay, so we put the offer together, we negotiate back and forth. Eventually, we have an accepted agreement in place. The next morning, I email my client, the buyer's lawyer, the agreement of purchase and sale with an email explanation stating that I've been told that the sellers are out of the country and they're selling their home here. The lawyers end up speaking, my client's lawyer, the buyer's lawyers, and the seller's lawyer. Over the next couple of days, they go back and forth. And it turns out that the seller's lawyer is required to hold back, on closing, to hold back 50% of the proceeds. This is a problem for the seller. In holding back 50% of the proceeds, there's not enough money left to clear the mortgage, which means the seller can't close unless they put in more money to be able to clear off the mortgage. And they're trying to figure this out on their end. My buyer is now wondering, are we going to close? What's going on? Because my buyer's making plans to move in on closing date. Well, turns out closing date was delayed for about a month. The seller did close. The seller had to put in money outside of the transaction, some of their own money into the transaction for it to close, and also pay for a month in delayed closing, pay my client's fees associated with that. But eventually it closed and everybody went on. So why was the seller's lawyer required to hold back 50% of the proceeds? The CRA wants to protect itself and wants to make sure that it can get tax money that's owed for people that are no longer living in Canada. So non-residents, you're out of the country, the CRA wants to get its money. And one way it protects itself, the CRA, is that if you are a non-resident and you're selling property here, then before the seller's lawyer releases the money to you, the seller's lawyer, you as the seller need to supply the seller's lawyer a tax clearance certificate. If you don't have a tax clearance certificate, then the CRA has instructed the seller's lawyers to hold back 25% of the proceeds, not of equity, but of the proceeds, 25% if it's a primary residence, or outside of it being a primary residence, the seller's lawyer is required to hold back 50% of the proceeds. This is the way the CRA protects itself and kind of ensures that they can get whatever tax money is owed to them. Now, these holdbacks, 25% and 50%, that's not necessarily what you're going to pay to the government in taxes. You will then sort out whatever tax situation as a seller, whatever tax obligations you have with the CRA, and then that money will be released to you. But for a lot of sellers, 25% and 50%, often comes as a shock to them. It's not something they were prepared for. Many sellers might not be in a situation where they can actually close if they don't have access to that money. And they often find out during the process of after an offer is accepted. It takes about 120 days to get a tax clearance certificate. And by the time that comes in, it's long past when the home was supposed to close. So the implications of this are significant, both to the sellers who maybe can't close and to the buyer who is expecting to close and maybe can't close. So if you're a buyer, you need to be aware of this scenario. And if you're a seller, you really need to act upfront and be proactive if you're a non-resident and selling a property here. I'm not giving tax advice. I'm not giving legal advice. But as more and more people pull their money out of real estate, specifically if they're non-residents, this situation is going to come up more and more. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, check out this modern log home. It's stunning. It's located the other side of Lake Simcoe. Check out the link on the screen at the end of this video. Here we go. We're focused on City of Toronto only. Detached properties, semis and towns, condos. I have that on the board here at the average sold prices, but we're not talking about condos in this show. Condos is on tomorrow's show. But for reference, the difference between the average condo price and the average detached price in the City of Toronto, $958,000. It's a significant difference between the two. Let's get started here. We're going to start off with detached properties. So this is all detached properties across the City of Toronto for week ending June the 11th. 183 detached properties were sold. 46 sold at $2 million or more. When we look at sales for a while since the beginning of the year, not every week, but overall been trending upwards. For the last 3 weeks or so, sales kind of look like they're going the other way. Now, for sure, sales can go up and down every single week. But my experience, I know there's a certain time of the year sales will go up and then they're going to start trending down. Last year at this time, sales were trending down to August, then they jumped up again, September for the fall, and then at some point in the fall, they trend down again to the end of the year, heading into the winter months. So, are we now at that turning point where they're heading down? It's tough to say, but we know it's coming. We know at some point sales will be trending downwards. Maybe we've started that already. Average sold price for week ending June 11th is $1,630,000. Now, the average price is up from the previous week, but overall, since the beginning of March, overall, average price has been trending down. When we compare 1,630 to the same week a year ago, 1,630 is 5% lower. The median price is 1,325, $1,325,000, and that is a 0% change. It's rounded. It's a little bit lower, but a 0% change from where the price was exactly a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Both average price and median price over the previous 3 months has been trending downward. So that's what's happening with detached prices overall for the City of Toronto. Sales, we said 183 sold, 72 of those, so 42% sold at list price or more. Now, I do want to explain, when I say sold at list price or more, that doesn't necessarily mean what it used to mean, where buyers are tripping over themselves to overpay. There are situations where sellers have to have a sale, they're running out of time and they'll drop their price significantly, and then it gets sold right away at the price they're listed at. But it's not necessarily that they've sold it so much more. And then there's other sellers that'll use a pricing strategy of listing it lower than market to get 2 or 3 or more buyers competing. But what eventually it sells for, we're seeing, is not what it used to be, where prices are now, properties are selling more than what the market is selling in that area. They're selling at or below market in that neighborhood. But the fact that they listed low and get those buyers buying kind of ensures them a quicker sale when it works. There's many that don't. 42% sold at list price or more, so 58% did not. Listings are high. 566 detached properties were listed. We've listed more, but listings are increasing. We're seeing sales maybe turning the other way. We're seeing listings becoming more and more numerous. Active listings is now 2,882 available detached properties for sale in the city of Toronto. Basically, when we look at that 2,882, we're saying that 6% of what's available for sale actually sold that week. Only 6%. So 94% of all listings did not sell. And the 6% is a rounded number. The actual number was 6.4% actually sold. Months of inventory, it's pretty flat. It's really not going up or down, sitting at 3.6 months of inventory. That's for week ending June 11th. And that's the whole city of Toronto and all detached properties. If we break the city down into 9 different sections, the whole city has a 3.6 months of inventory. And you could look around and look at the different areas, but there's 3 I really want to point out that are a bit more competitive than all the others. Scarborough is sitting at 2.6 months of inventory. East York Riverdale Beaches, 1.7 months of inventory. And High Park area, 1.5 months of inventory. Those 3 neighborhoods are standing out as being more competitive than all the other neighborhoods. But that's for also all detached properties. So I've broken it down in neighborhoods. Let's look at 3 bedrooms versus 4-bedroom detached properties. This chart is for 3-bedroom properties for week ending June 11th, 86 sold, and we saw sales trending upwards, and now they're starting to, it's not by much, but maybe starting to trend down now. So 86 sold, average sold price is $1,290,000 for the average 3-bedroom detached properties. And average sold price has been trending down since the beginning of April. It was trending up, now trending down. Compared to last year, $1,290,000. Now remember, this is just for 3-bedroom detached properties. $1,290,000 is 8% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. And here's 4 bedrooms for week ending June 11th. 58 4-bedroom properties, detached properties sold. Similar pattern. Sales were trending upwards, and now maybe looks like they're trending downwards now. But average sold price for 4-bedroom detached, although the last couple of weeks it's come down, it's now sitting at $1,991,000, very close to $2 million. Average sold price for 4 bedrooms since the beginning of April kind of looks like it's slightly trending upwards. Compared to last year, 1,991 is 4% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. That's for 4-bedroom properties. And when we compare the two, let's look at the sales. The blue, that's 4-bedroom. The orange, that's 3 bedrooms. It's clear we're selling, the city's selling way more 3-bedroom properties than they are 4-bedroom properties. It's significantly more 3-bedroom properties. And average sold price. between the 3-bedroom and the 4-bedroom. There's a $700,000 price difference between the two average sold prices. Big significant difference there. Months of inventory for 3 bedrooms sitting at 3.1. Months of inventory for 4-bedroom sitting at 4.2 months of inventory. Let's move on to semi-detached properties. For week ending June 11th, 72 semi-detached properties were sold. 72, that's a big number. We haven't seen, I've got a whole year on the board here. There's not one week that was even in the 70s. The highest we had was 68 over here. So 72 is a significant week of sales for semi-detached properties. 15 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price up slightly from the previous week. It's now sitting at $1,234,000. Overall, since the beginning of April, kind of looks like average sold price for semi-detached have been trending downward. $1,234,000 is 11% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 6% higher. And again, when we look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, both average and median are trending downward. 1.9 is the months of inventory for semi-detached properties. Here's townhouses. These are freehold townhouses. 20 of them sold. 3 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,206,000. And since the beginning of April, average sold price for townhouses seem to be trending downwards. 1206 is 5% lower year over year. The median price of 1209 is 7% lower. 3.2 is the months of inventory for freehold townhomes. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. I got all the detached at 3.6, but specifically the 3-bedroom detached 3.1, the 4-bedroom detached 4.2 months of inventory, semis 1.9, townhouses 3.2. In most cases, you're going to experience a balanced market. But there are situations you could find yourself in a more competitive environment, especially if a seller drops their price or it's a really nice home. And we're seeing that there could be 5-10 properties for sale in a neighborhood. All the buyers want to buy the one really nice one, and the other ones end up sitting there. Thanks for watching. Now check out this really, really nice modern log home.